Before we begin, please like, comment, and subscribe. Join our growing family of folktale lovers. Abuja shimmered under the evening sun like a city dipped in gold. Cecilia often said there was something holy about the way light touched their house, a sprawling duplex on a quiet street in Guaranpa. To her, it was proof that God had finally smiled on her. Her husband, Richard, was the kind of man people stared at twice, tall, composed, and with the kind of wealth that carried silence instead of noise. His late father had been one of the biggest business moguls in Nigeria, owning several security companies across the country, and Richard had inherited not just the businesses, but also the discipline that came with power. Their marriage was the envy of neighbors. Richard adored Cecilia, and Cecilia adored him back. Their laughter filled the house, their photos decorated the walls, and every visitor left saying the same thing: these two are truly blessed. But blessings, Cecilia would later learn, have shadows too. For 10 long years, they waited for a child. 10 years of hospital visits, fasting, vigils, and whispered questions from church members. 10 years of being called Mama, nothing behind her back by women who pitied her with one hand and mocked her with the other. She had been to doctors who smiled too kindly while saying, "Everything seems fine, Mrs. Nwokdi. Just keep trying." She had sat in the smoky corners of prayer houses, where prophets sprinkled olive oil on her head, muttering in tongues she didn't understand. Once, she had even stood half naked in a dark room as a self-proclaimed seer beat her gently with a broom while colored candles burned around her. Nothing worked. And yet, deep down, Cecilia had always known the problem ran deeper than science or prayers could reach. Because it was a pattern. Her mother had waited 6 years before conceiving, her grandmother too, and when children finally came in the family, they came in pairs or threes, twins, triplets, but death always followed. Sometimes one child, sometimes all. Cecilia used to think it was coincidence. Until the day she saw her mother crying by the firelight years ago, whispering to no one in particular. Why does the river always take what it gives? She hadn't understood then, but those words echoed now like a curse that had never been broken. The day Cecilia found out she was pregnant, the world stood still. She had almost given up hope. The test strip trembled in her hand as 2 deep red lines appeared, bold, defiant, miraculous. She fell to her knees, sobbing until her voice cracked. When Richard came home, she ran into his arms, unable to speak, just showing him the strip. He dropped everything, lifted her off the ground, and spun her around like a child. That night, their home was filled with music, laughter, and gratitude. Cecilia prayed louder than she ever had before, convinced God had finally heard her. 9 months later, the miracle multiplied 4 bobbies. Quadruplets, the first in her entire family line. They named them Rita, Raphael, Rose, and Raymond. The news spread like wildfire. Friends visited bearing gifts. Pastors came to bless the bobbies. Even strangers stopped them on the street just to see the chosen ones. Cecilia's heart swelled with joy. She had waited so long for this. But joy has a way of drawing attention, even from places unseen. The first night it happened, Cecilia thought it was just a dream. She was standing by a wide river, the moon high above her. The air smelled of wet earth and salt. On the water's surface, she saw herself, dressed in white, her reflection smiling strangely. Then others appeared beside her. Women she didn't recognize, also dressed in white, their feet bare, their eyes hollow. They danced in slow circles, humming a melody that was both sweet and sorrowful. "Come, Cecilia," they whispered. "Come join your sisters." She felt herself moving toward them, her body obeying something her mind didn't understand. In their midst, a shadow rose from the river, tall, faceless, black from head to toe. Only the whites of its eyes glowed. Cecilia tried to scream, but her voice drowned in the wind. The being extended its hand, and in it she saw one of her bobbies. "Give what was promised," the voice said, deep, vibrating, and human. She woke up drenched in sweat, her scream echoing through the house. Richard rushed in, eyes wide. "What is it? Cecilia, what's wrong?" She grabbed his arm, trembling. "I saw something. Someone took Rita from me, a dark man. He said something about a promise." Richard held her close, stroking her hair. "It was just a nightmare, love. You're exhausted. You barely sleep these days." But she couldn't shake it off. The dream had felt too real, too familiar. And when she glanced at the window, she thought she saw a silhouette move past the curtain, something tall, something watching. Days turned to weeks. The dreams didn't stop. Each night, Cecilia was back by the riverbank. Each time, the voice grew closer, more demanding. And during the day, small things began to change. Sometimes she'd wake up and find the bobbies crying all at once, their faces twisted in the same strange expression, as if they saw something she couldn't. Sometimes she'd hear whispers coming from their room, soft and melodic, like a lullaby. Then there was the tall figure. She first saw it clearly one humid night around 2 a.m. The bobbies had been restless, and she went to check on them. As she bent over the crib, something caught her eye, a tall, dark figure standing by the doorway. She froze. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely breathe. The figure stood still, its form flickering like smoke. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. When she turned on the light, nothing. Just the hum of the air conditioner and the steady rise and fall of her bobby's breathing. But she knew she wasn't imagining it. She could feel the presence. Heavy, watching, waiting. The next morning, Richard called her mother. He was trying to be calm, but Cecilia could see the worry in his eyes. "Mama, I think you should come," he said over the phone. "Cecilia hasn't been herself. She keeps seeing things, hearing things. Maybe you'll know what to do." Her mother arrived the next day, a small, weary woman whose face carried years of untold stories. She hugged Cecilia tightly, then looked around the house as if searching for something invisible. That night, Cecilia couldn't sleep. Around midnight, she went to get some water and saw her mother outside on the balcony, crying quietly. "Ma," she called softly. Her mother wiped her eyes quickly, pretending to be fine, but Cecilia noticed her trembling hands. "It's nothing, my daughter. Go back to sleep." "Tell me," Cecilia pressed. "What's happening to me, to us?" Her mother hesitated, then sighed heavily. "Your husband should be here too. It's time he knows." Richard joined them, and in the dim balcony light, her mother began to speak, her voice shaking. "There's something you both should know," she said. "Something about our family." Cecilia's stomach tightened. She had always sensed there was something unsaid, something dark buried in their bloodline. Her mother continued. Generations ago, our forefather, his name was Ubel, made a covenant with a being called Akwansu. Richard frowned. A being. Her mother nodded. A demon, a spirit of the deep waters. Ubel's only son was dying, and in his desperation he made a pact. He offered the lives of his descendants to save the boy. Cecilia felt her chest grow cold. Offered their lives, you mean? Yes, he bound the generations to come. That's why our children rarely survive. The demon takes what was promised. Richard shook his head in disbelief. That can't be true. It's superstition. Her mother's eyes glistened. I didn't believe it either, not until my second set of twins died. A strange woman told me everything, things no one could have known. When I asked my grandmother, she confirmed it. She said the covenant cannot be broken easily. The night air grew colder. The bobbies stirred in the next room. Cecilia whispered, You said there's a sign before it starts. What's the sign, Mama? Her mother looked at her with eyes full of dread. The first sign, she said softly, is the dream of offering your child to a dark being. Cecilia's breath caught. She couldn't speak. Richard looked from her to his mother-in-law, realization dawning. Oh my God, he murmured. It's already begun. The next morning, Cecilia's mother began fasting and praying, lighting candles and reading psalms aloud. Cecilia and Richard joined her. The house was filled with prayers, yet the air still felt heavy, thick with unseen eyes. Days passed. Then one night, Rita, the eldest of the quadruplets, fell gravely ill. Cecilia had dreamt again that night. This time, she was holding one of her bobbies, placing her gently into the arms of the black figure. She woke up screaming, only to find Rita burning with fever, gasping for breath. Her cry pierced the night, echoing through the house like a curse awakened. Thank you for watching this story. If you want to know what happens next and don't want to miss part 2, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life.